everyone, welcome to another episode of Am I the A-Hole Horror Movie Edition. The way this works is I give the synopsis of a horror movie written from the perspective of one of the characters, told in the format of an Am I the A-Hole submission. The challenge is to see how fast you know the movie and which character is speaking, and if you haven't seen the movie, maybe you'll be intrigued and find a new one to check out. This one says, am I the a-hole for saving myself? I, 50-year-old male, hid with my wife and several other people in our country house due to a viral outbreak. My wife, let's call her Mary, is a wonderful woman whom I love very much. She made being stranded in a strange house with people we barely know worth it. However, she was sad. She missed our children very much. I, however, while I missed them, was just thankful that we had sent them on a school trip before the outbreak happened. I knew they were safe. I told her they were safe and how much I loved her. We sat down with the other people in the house for dinner. Mary had made a wonderful meal with our limited resources.
Oh boy.
Whilst eating dinner, there was a knock at the door. A young boy started screaming, begging us to let him in. Mary insisted we let him in even though we risked exposing ourselves to the outbreak, and because I love her and knew how much she missed our own children, I opened the door.
Prepare to enter the scary door.
The boy came in. He explained that his entire family had been infected. Before he could finish his story, the infected were at the door. They broke through our boarded up windows and pulled one of our companions through and bit her arm. She became infected and joined in the attack, as more infected broke through our barricades and into the house. I grabbed a crowbar to fight off the infected so the rest of our party could escape. The boy ran up the stairs and my wife followed him, trying to protect him. I followed as soon as I could. I couldn't leave my wife behind. I made it to the room where they were hiding and locked the door behind me, buying us a few seconds. She refused to come with me though. She wouldn't leave the boy behind. I begged her to come with me, but she saw him hiding in the closet and went to him. I was at the window begging her to come with me just as the infected burst through the room. They were between me and her. I had no weapon and she had chosen the boy instead of going with me to safety. What was I supposed to do? I loved my wife, but I had no choice. It was life and death in that moment, so I went out the window.
Sorry!
I landed on the ground and immediately was chased by the infected. I looked back as I ran and saw my wife at the window. Then she was grabbed by an infected and pulled away. My heart was broken, but I did the only thing I could do. I ran to the boat we had docked on the river in case of emergency. I saw Kevin, the only survivor of our party, already in the boat, getting it untied. I got to the boat just before the infected and jumped in. I pulled the rope to start the motor while Kevin pushed us off. He tried to jump in himself and fell into the water. I tried my hardest to pull him into the boat, but he was dragged under by an infected. Just as I was getting the motor started, he popped back up out of the water with red eyes and a snarling face. He was infected too. He tried to climb onto the boat to get me, but I kicked him off and destroyed him with the motor. Then I fled to safety, overwhelmed with my ordeal.
I know you can be overwhelmed, and you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? I think you can in Europe.
My country was infested with this outbreak, but I was able to hook up with some survivors and the military who got things under control and were ready to rebuild. When they opened up a quarantine part of the city to refugees, I was able to get my children back. My children, Esther and Isaac, passed the strict medical inspection and we were reunited. I showed them around the quarantine zone. I explained that for plot convenience, I had access to every area of the highly secure section of the city. We got to my penthouse apartment and they asked about their mom. I explained to them how the infected had broken into the house where we were staying and how we had gotten trapped in the bedroom. I told them I saw the infected biting her and I would have died too if I hadn't run. I assured them there was nothing I could have done. They said they were happy I was still alive. The next day my children snuck out of the quarantine zone. The military guarding the zone saw them sneak away and I knew where they were going. They were going back to our old house.
There's no place like home.
The military went to get them and brought them back, but when they returned, they were not alone. My children had found their mother in our old house. She was almost mad from being alone for so long, but she was not infected. The military brought her back to the quarantine zone, where she was cleaned up and thoroughly examined for signs of infection. She had signs of being bitten, but had some sort of immunity to the virus. When the military told me they found my wife, I was so happy. My children were angry with me as they thought I lied to them about seeing Mary die. I assured them that the only thing that mattered was their mom was alive. I used my clearance to go into her containment room. It was so wonderful to see her again. I told her how sorry I was for leaving her. I asked for her forgiveness. She said, "I love you." It was exactly what I needed to hear, and I bent down to kiss her. Suddenly, I was overcome with anger. How dare she leave me alone with my guilt? How dare she be alive and just go to our house? She didn't try to find me or her kids, she just let me believe I had let her die. She made me lie to them. The rage overcame me and I attacked her. I took her out for all the hurt and pain and anger I had been experiencing all these months. I left the containment area and attacked the military men. It was their fault too, pretending they had things in order while this virus is still out there. I attacked everyone I saw. I went to find my kids, but there was a military man guarding them. I took him out, spreading my anger to him, but a lady with a gun came in and took them before I could get to them. I kept going, trying to find my children, taking out whoever got in my way. I found Isaac in a room full of people, but he ran away from me. How dare he? I couldn't get to him, so I took out the first person I could get my hands on. The people started screaming and running, and this angered me even more. I kept fighting them. Some of them joined me in my rage, and we worked our way through the screamers. We chased them out of the building and into the street. Then the military started shooting us. Then suddenly they were on our side, shooting all the people running in the street. Isaac was in the street, but some meddling man, a stranger, took him someplace and I couldn't find him. I found a place where there was less gunfire and wandered, hoping to find my children. I heard some gunfire on a side street and followed the sound. I found Isaac, but just before I could run to him, a military man with a gun was there and I couldn't risk getting shot. I did see that Isaac had found Esther. That was good, they were together. If only I could get to them, we could all be together. I followed them at a safe distance, not wanting to lose track again. It was good that I did, because soon they were bombing the quarantine zone. I met up with some others like me, angry people who survived the bombing, and we ran together out of the bombed out quarantine zone into the rest of the city. As we ran, I hoped to find my children. I could punish them for running from me, and then we could all be together. A bunch of our group was taken out in the field by a helicopter. Then the military started to gas the streets of the city. I heard my children screaming in a car, but I couldn't get to them due to the poison gas. I watched from a distance as the military man who was with them got out of the car into the gas and began to push. The military men spraying the gas lit him on fire, but he got the car moving and the kids drove off with a doctor woman. I followed the car and they led me through a safe path in the streets away from the poison gas. They were shot at by another helicopter and drove into the underground transit tunnels. I followed, still keeping a safe distance, as the doctor woman still had a gun. Then I heard them screaming and I knew it was time to intervene. I attacked the doctor woman, taking her out with the end of her own gun. Then I heard Isaac yelling and went to get him. I found him and ran to him, but the force of my enthusiasm knocked him to the ground. I was so glad to see him, but still angry at him for running away. As punishment, I bit him on the neck. Esther yelled at me then and I stopped, ready to dole out the same punishment to her. I ran to her, but before I got there, she shot me. I died angry and heartbroken. We would never be together now. All of my family had turned on me when all I had ever wanted was us to be together. I'm glad that the rest of us angry people escaped the city into the rest of the world. I hope they were able to find their families and that theirs weren't as ungrateful as mine.
I'm a terrible father.
Okay, I feel like this is a pretty easy one. It's, of course, 28 weeks later. And the character speaking, of course, is the dad, played by Robert Carlyle.
Always nice to make an impression.
I don't really know of anybody who thinks 28 Weeks Later is better than 28 Days Later. However, it's a pretty good movie, especially for a sequel. I think the moral dilemma at the beginning of whether or not the dad should have ran and left the wife in the house is a fun thought experiment. I don't necessarily think he's an a-hole for leaving her. I don't really think he had much of a choice. However, he should have just been honest with his kids. Or maybe done his best to fight off the zombies so his wife could get to him. I'm not really sure what he could have done in that time though. It's hard to say. I'd like to think I wouldn't leave my significant other in that situation, but I don't think you really know what you're gonna do unless you're actually in that situation. The part where he kisses his wife has always been intriguing to me because I feel like his wife infects him on purpose. Just the way she looks at him after he starts to turn, seems like she was intentional and was happy that it was happening. It's almost like she gets her revenge and she's happy, and then all of a sudden she realizes she's strapped down to a bed and has nowhere to run after he turns. I know there's a lot of debate about whether she does it on purpose or not, but that's how I read the scene. I haven't seen 28 Years Later. I've heard that it doesn't really have anything to do with 28 Weeks Later. It's more just a direct sequel to the first one, which I think is sad. I think it's a decent sequel, and setting up this immunity angle is interesting, and they could have done something with that. But maybe in the future 28 Years Later movies, they will touch on it a little bit. This movie is also fun because it has a young Jeremy Renner and Rose Byrne in it in supporting actor roles. So it's fun to see them kind of at the beginning of their careers. And I think the rage virus is a unique twist on the zombie trope. So anytime we can return to that world, it's always fun.
Shouldn't have done that.
Leave a comment down below what you think of this movie or what you think of this format of video. Any suggestions you might have for a future video. That's all I have for now. I'll see you next time. I promise the next one won't be a sequel. Until then, take care of yourself and drink water. Bye-bye. Subscribe!